Hello, hello. So today I want to talk about domain-driven design, TDD, test-driven development, dependency injection, and for example, Nx and TypeScript. So the main contribution of today is about TypeScript. So if you are familiar with the domain-driven design, those kind of things, it is very popular when you do C# or Java or these kind of things. So higher level languages. But for something like JavaScript, it doesn't really have that much of meaning. But for example, I see in TypeScript it's possible, although there are also problems, especially in terms of the types and those kind of things. But domain-driven design, I see, is possible, and we have a lot of issue when it comes to TypeScript in terms of dependency injection. But overall, it is something very nice to do. Okay, and I have done this architecture in many languages. I have done even this in C. Okay, so in C you don't have something like dependency injection. So I wrote my something similar to the. I won't say I won't. I will never say that one was a dependency injection, but even I wrote my own dependency injection in C. So I'm thinking to maybe open source it later. However, I have done dependency injection and, for example, domain-driven design in, for example, C, C++. After that, I did it in C#. I did it in TypeScript. So yeah, I did in many languages. So I want to show you today that how I'm doing it in TypeScript. Okay. So without further ado, let's go to the presentation. I will do a presentation. After that, I do a short demo. And if you guys happy with what I'm doing and support this video, yeah, and I see a lot of good result from you guys, I may continue this series. Okay. So let's go to the presentation first. Yeah. So let's start here. Okay, so before we dive in, so I want to give you some overview about what is the dependency injection and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you know a little bit of history before we go. Okay, so the domain-driven design, originally it is Eric Evans' work. Okay, but if you come to here, most probably you know the domain-driven design and clean architecture, those kind of things, by Uncle Bob. Okay, uh, Uncle Bob is the one that who make it mainstream. Okay, and he has an implementation, but to be honest with you, his implementation is kind of outdated. Okay, and it has a lot of overhead and boilerplate, so that I think is unnecessary. Okay, so in reality, the version of the dependency injection that I use is not the Uncle Bob's one. Okay, so I'm doing not dependency injection, domain driven design. Domain driven design, for example, I did the domain driven design 2 years before COVID started. I think I started in either 2018 or 2018. I think 2018, 2019, I started to do domain driven design. Okay. So since then, I'm doing domain driven design all the way. Okay. No matter what language I'm using. Okay. So it is, I think at least 5, 6 years I'm doing domain driven design. Yeah. So it's a long time. So, but the version that I'm doing is not Uncle Bob's version. In my opinion, Uncle Bob's version is a little bit outdated. So the version that I'm using is mostly similar to Ardalis. Ardalis is a famous guy in C# world. So he's very experienced. Okay, so they are is somebody that I really look up to. But I'm not doing exactly the same version of the Ardalis also. So I have a little bit modification. So because no need to have a lot of boilerplate, those kind of things. So the way that I arrange the thing is I have only three layers. Okay, so it is core. In the core, what you do is that everything that it is abstract, anything that, for example, doesn't have any dependency, like for example your DTOs and for example like your, for example, interfaces, everything is in core. Okay, services is all implementation. Okay, so I don't have, for example, business layer, those kind of things, for example, that Uncle Bob says. So that one for me also can be changed. So everything is in services. It's mean that you, for example, if you have anything, for example, you create an interface in the core, and after that, all the implementations, what I'm trying to say is that all the implementation for me is in the services. And on top of the services is application and tests. Okay, for example, you have different application. For example, you have for example, UI. Even actually, to be honest with you, even for example, what normally I do is that Even for example in the services, even my UIs, I make the UIs library. Okay, so make it very useful because for example, just imagine a case. For example, you have for example a mobile application, and after that, for example, you have for example something like for example I don't know. For example, you have something like electron application. Okay, so both of them they're using the same UI, right? So maybe the entire architecture is not the same, but the button in this side and that side, especially in the browser side, we still do the responsive design, right? So we are handling the, for example, a small this and that. And on the, for example, electron side also, for example, we have the same thing. Most of the function. So what I'm doing is that normally, even for example, the UI libraries also, they become a library. Everything is a library. Okay. So at the end, what I do is that on the application side and the test side, I assemble everything together. Okay. So it means that in the application side is the place that everything is wired. Okay, wired together. This is exactly the thing that Uncle Bob said that he called it main. Okay, so yeah, so in the application side, there is something called main, and in the main, this is a place that, for example, we assemble everything together. But normally, for more my own application, also because there are a lot of boilerplate for handling these things in the application side. So normally, I use a template for creating application so that it is shared among all the stuff. So yeah, so for example, all the dependency injection, those kind of things, it will come some kind of automated. However, yeah, so this is roughly how I'm doing it. Okay. Now later I will show you the implementation. So okay, so this is roughly how the things is. How is a general overlook of this one? This one I can talk about it thousand videos, but slowly. So I see you guys are interested or not. Okay. So okay, next we go to the dependency injection. So in the dependency injection, okay, the dependency injection is my love. It changed my life. I do dependency injection even in C. I mean that in C you don't have dependency injection. So I wrote many years ago. I wrote a library that do something similar to dependency injection in C. I'm thinking to open source it. If you guys are interested, please let me know in the comments. I can open source that implementation as well. Okay. So yeah, so what the dependency injection do is that by default, if you don't have a dependency injection, so you have a spaghetti code. So when you want to take out, for example, one part of the code, you have to take out the entire thing because they are in each other. What the dependency injection does, it make it like sushi. Okay, so everything is modular. You just can take out the pieces one by one. However, the dependency injection have also his own stuff. So in a more complex system, you can have a circular dependencies. So this is more advanced topics. But if you're interested, also let me know in the comments. So I can do a video on circular dependencies, those kind of things. So that one is a nightmare, man. So yeah, so let's go to the Nx. Okay, so the implementation that we do, so this one is this video is specific not to domain driven design, is specific to how to do it with the TypeScript. Okay, so in the TypeScript world, domain driven design is very convenient with Nx. Okay, I would say the reason that it is very convenient with Nx is that building libraries in TypeScript world is a nightmare. So because why? Because for example, you have to make them packages, after that push them to the npm. So when you want to do test them, for example, offline, it means that local, you don't want to push every changes, every semicolon you change, you don't want to push it to the npm, right? So what you do normally is that you either use link, npm link, or for example, aliases, those kind of things. Those things is absolute nightmare. I hate them. You have to build them, and after that, every time, for example, you change, for example, especially npm link, that is an absolute nightmare. Why? Because for example, every time you are changing something, for example, in your library, you have to build it. After that, sometimes you forget to build it, otherwise it doesn't impact it. After that, for example, when you want to check the source code, that what's going on in this function, he doesn't bring you to the original code, he bring you to the build code. So npm link is an absolute nightmare, and Nx solves all these problems for you. Isn't it wonderful? However, I'm not using NX anymore. So previously I was a die-hardcore NX guy. NX Monorepo. I don't know you guys know NX Monorepo. NX is some place that you put all your code. So yeah, it handled the dependencies, those kind of things for you. But I'm not using NX anymore. The reason that I'm stopped using NX anymore is because uh, deployment is a nightmare with NX. So I was wasting a lot of time on the deployment, this kind of thing. So this is the reason that I give up on NX, and I don't like the way that they handle the package.json. Okay, so this is the main two reasons that I'm not using NX at the moment. And we say that why you are if you are not using NX anymore, why you are building this video. Okay, so actually I'm building this video many months after that I originally created the original blog. So actually this one is a blog that I created many months ago. Actually it is my most popular blog on the Medium. It has the most view in the Medium. And yeah, so I'm thinking to just create, now I'm just creating a video for it. So later I will go through the blog together. Okay, so back then I was using NX, but after that I abandoned NX. But if you want to, if your company using NX, or for example you are somebody familiar with NX, domain-driven design is a piece of cake for you, because NX handle library management very very well, and I love that the NX. Okay, it is very sexy in terms of when it comes to the come to the library management. Okay. So yeah, I told you. Okay, so test-driven development. So to be honest with you, nowadays I'm not doing test-driven development like the ways that I do on the past. So this is something very good. So definitely we do the test-driven development with the JS. The more you become senior, you love test more. But nowadays, after invention of the ChatGPT, I wrote all my tests, storybooks. Everything is done by ChatGPT. So I very seldom I write tests by myself. Okay, but since the introduction of the ChatGPT, I said that previously I write maybe 10% test. Now most of the time I target 100% coverage, especially when it comes to UI. I try to 100% coverage. So TDD is another thing that it is very good. So write test, always write test. So yeah. So okay, so this one was my presentation. So this one is only part one. So we want to go through the tutorial that I created in here. Okay. So I will share the Medium link down below, so you can go through the things by yourself. So okay, so the first thing that you have to do is that you have to install the NX if you don't have the NX installed. Okay, so you have to install the NX locally. So next we are setting up the NX workspace. So all the configuration in this video, just go with the default. So we want none, and next we want to be package based. So let's go to the directory. After going to the directory, what we want to do is that we want to set up the architecture that I mentioned to you. So okay, so in the post I didn't mention it very well, but in here I explained it very well. Okay, so we want to what we are trying to set is this. Okay, for example, we want to set tests, core services, application. Although in the blog I'm in the first part I'm doing the application. Okay, but in the reality, okay, in the reality in the first attempt for this blog I was not setting up the application. Okay, so let's set up one by one. So first of all, let's install Express. This one is totally unnecessary. Okay, because you need this thing in the future. In the future, then was not in this one. Then we are setting up the core. Okay, it means that we are creating a library which is core. Okay, so which is a library core. So this one is core. Okay, so it means that this one is the most inner dependency. Okay, what does it mean? It means that this one, it has the least dependency. It means that you don't use any, you should never ever use any library in code. Okay, So one of the, for example, early mistakes that I do is that, for example, I use the dependency injection in the core itself. Okay, I will back in the days. I remember that my core have one dependency. Okay, and that one was Ninject from C sharp. Okay, so when I was doing C sharp, it was Ninject. Man, I suffered. Okay, because one day we decided to change the Ninject, and it was absolutely painful. What you want to do is that always you want to keep the core clean out of any dependencies. Okay, so when you do like that, okay, most likely you will never ever change it. Okay, it means that it make life very easy. Okay, so if you want to, you can modify everything, you can change anything, you can sweep anything, so make life very easy. So never ever use anything in core. Okay, so let's build the thing, let's build this library. So while building this library, what you want to do is that always default option. Next, we are building the services. Okay, so the services is the layer above the core. Normally, I put it above the core. Actually, they don't do like me. Okay, so it means that even the Ardolis or, for example, Uncle Bob, the way that they do this is not like me. But the way that I do is services. So services is all implementation. Okay, so you can have multiple libraries for services. Okay, so you can separate it as many you want. So, for example, in their design, for example, something like Uncle Bob or something like that. Okay, so what he do is that, for example, he set up something like, for example, infrastructure. For example, even for example, Ardolis. Okay, infrastructure is his database. Okay, so for example, he put controllers, or for example, whatever. Okay, so for example, it can be UI or whatsoever. Okay, in the services layer. Okay, so you can have many libraries as you want. For they normally, the Uncle Bob itself, he separate these things. It means, so he has logic layer. I think he call it business layer or something like that. In the business layer, there are some logics, but things still are abstract. Okay, this is something that Uncle Bob does. I don't do that. Okay, so even for example, to me, even for example, the business logic can change. So that's the reason is still I'm keeping those in services. They are very abstract. Okay, but still I put it in services. I don't see any point to have a separate layer for it. Okay, you can have multiple library. You can have 20 services layer. Okay, so it doesn't matter. Okay, in reality you would have different services. Okay, especially if you work, for example, in multiple projects, you will find out that, for example, multiple company. Okay, so for example, the company A, company B, you will find out that some of the things that you use in company A and company B can be reused. So what you do normally is that, for example, you put for example, you create something like this, but it is shared between the two companies. Okay, so what will happen is that it means that you have multiple services. It means that you have multiple services layer from different companies or something like that. So this one, I think, for video is very complex. But if you're interested, you let me know. I will explain to you how I organize this one. Okay. So in reality, I don't. Actually, this one also is something that originally I was doing, and after that, I found out that Adol is also doing exactly the same thing as me. Okay. So yeah. So but let me know if you want to know more about this. Okay. So but never mind. Let's build the library. So again, default. Yeah. Okay. So let's go for the last one. So the last one is test. Okay. So this one is the thing that I like about Nx. Okay. So in Nx, for example, okay, if you want to do a test, for example, you want to separate the test, for example, in a npm link or something like that, man, life, it would be very difficult. Okay, because for example, every time you have to build it and this kind of things. But when you do it, for example, with Nx, actually putting test in a separate library, it is extremely easy. Okay, and it is extremely beneficial. I like to have a separate project for my test cases. So it has a lot of benefits because, for example, sometimes you have multiple library. You want to set up the entire things in one location. You don't want to, do the same setup, for example, in a first library, in a second library. So it is very beneficial. But this is one of the big points if you are going for NX. And this one, the last one is API. So this one is a real application. So in this one, so in this tutorial, I'm not doing this one, but in the real world, for example, if I do few more tutorials, you like this one, you guys like this one, and ask me to do more tutorials. So what you do in here is a main. It means that this is the place that you wire up everything. So most of the times, the place that you wire up everything, that even for example, I've created a project called test, right? So test would be the place that you wire up everything, and application would be the place that you wire up everything. It means that it has a lot of dependency. Okay, it is something that is extremely fragile to problems. This kind of thing. The only thing that it is that's even that even that if the dependency change, any dependency change, for example, you have a React or something like that, they upgrade it. Most likely, um, you have to modify, edit, or recompile. Or for example, if it's a C# recompile, for example, in TypeScript we don't have recompile or something like that. At least you have to test it. But for example, if for example anything change, for example, any of your packages change in the application layer and the test layer, you have to recompile them. So since I'm mentioning this one, so the most important thing that it is this. Okay, so in this algorithm, okay, core has the least dependencies. Services have more dependencies, so because they are still accessing the libraries and those kind of things. Okay, application layer, when you reach to the application layer, okay, application layer have the most dependency. Okay, because he is both dependent to the core and the services. Okay, services, so in this architecture, okay, core have no dependency, suppose not to have any dependency at all. Services is dependent to core, and application is dependent to the services and core. Okay, so the more outer you go, there are more dependencies. Okay, so some of the things, so just explaining the thing. Okay, so in the next one, I'm just removing some of the test code, so just they mess up the stuff. So this one is nothing important. If you don't want to do it also, it doesn't matter. Okay. So okay, so now we want to build the things. Okay. Before we want to build the things, if you see the architecture here, so if you see all the files that they are here, okay, so you can see all the project that we created just now. Okay, core, services, test. After that, for example, app, whatever. Okay. So what we want to do is that, okay, we want to build, because I told you that these guys, they are from inner to the outer, right? So we want to build the core first. Okay, so now what we are doing, okay, is that in the core, okay, I'm just building an interface. Okay, so just a simple interface. I think they call it item isom dot ts. Yeah, isom dot ts. Yeah, I think I call it isom dot ts. Yeah, okay. So what you do is just a simple isom. So we just copy paste it. So it doesn't do anything. Okay, it just A and B. So he get two A and B. After that, he's supposed to return the sum. Okay, so it's dummy as hell. Okay. So after that, in the index, so because it's a library, so and this is an Nx. I'm not sure you're familiar with the Nx or not. But in the Nx, you have to add the item over there. So the other people that can access it. So okay, this one the first thing. So the next thing is to go to the services. Okay, what it means that we were now just build something in core. The next thing that we are going to do is that we go to the services. The next thing that we are building, it is in the services. Okay, so let's do that. So yeah. So the name of the okay, so this one is the core. So we go to the services, and in the services we are building sum.ts. And in here, what we do is that we create the iSum. Okay, so in here, I haven't implemented the sum. Okay, so that is the reason that you see that the the ESLint is screaming. So this one is intentional. Okay, the reason that I'm doing this is that because I want to show you TDD, right? In TDD, we say that, okay, develop your test first. After that, develop the code later, right? And after that, green test, this kind of things, right? So I'm trying to do TDD way. Okay, so this is the reason that okay, so let's go to here. So you have to update. So again, because we updated the things, we have to update the index.ts also, so the other people, they can access it. This one is supposed some. Yeah, let me, I have to update my things also. So okay, so now everything is good. Okay, so let's go to the graph again. So we did core, we did services. Now is the time for application or test. So in this tutorial, I just do the test. Okay. This is the best thing about the NX. You know, the building libraries is so simple, man. So okay, so what was the name of the what I named the guy? The name of the guy was some spec.ts. So we created some spec.ts, and over there, what we do is we add these two. Okay. Just now I was talking a lot about that the dependencies is more. Okay, so this is, you can see this thing in here exactly. Okay, so okay, in the test, okay, you have dependency to the core and you have the dependency to the services. Okay, what does it mean? It means that in the test I have both dependency to the services and I have dependency to the core. Okay, it means that if you see on top, okay, there are two different library that they are imported. Okay, in the previous one that we just did, okay, for example, in the sum there was only one. Okay, what does it mean? It means that, for example, in the test there are two of them. In the services there is only dependency to the core. In the test there is a dependency to both of them. Okay, so this is a very important concept to understand. Okay, if you understand this one, if for example you were in my ex company and you understand this one, man, I would have loved you. Okay, I killed myself to make people understand these things. So at the end, I give up for many people. So yeah, okay. So never mind. We don't talk too much. Okay. So if you're using the extension that I'm using, you just press run here very easily. If you are not using the extension that I'm using, so you can use the command. Okay, so as we expected, so because we're doing TDD, the thing is broke. Let me show you with the command also. In the command also, you will get the same result. You get a failing test. Yeah, our test failed. Okay, so now let's go to fix the test. So we go to the green side. So in the green side, what we do is that we just sum up A and B. Yeah, such a simple solution. We find the error. Yeah. So okay, after doing the summing up the A and B, we come here, we run the guy. Let's see, it's running or not. Yeah, the test is passed. So good. So yeah, so this is the end of the presentation. So I can do the part 2, part 3 for this one. So if you want, if you guys interested, I can do the dependency injection in the next time. Okay, so dependency injection, I'm using Inversify for dependency injection. I love Inversify. I'm using it for a very long time. So I can show you how to make this one using Inversify and how to assemble the thing in a main if you guys want. But you let me know. So let me know in the comment and this kind of things. All the resources for this is shared on the comments. So the blog is shared in the comments, so you can follow the step-by-step through. So I talk too much, so you can read the blogs at your pace. And I will share all the resources. I'm doing mind mappings for a very long time, and I'm documenting everything. So you can go to my mind maps and look, for example, about the domain-driven design, solid principles, dependency injection. All those things would be shared on there. I would put an affiliation link for the MindMinster also. So if you guys use that one, I will get paid. So I won't die of hunger. So, and besides that, also I'm open to work. So I'm on Upwork. If you need for your next project, you need somebody to help you and give you a hand, please let me know. And thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.